was informed that the books had been burned. As Meinhard continued his journey, he replaced one of the books. When he got to Rome, that book was promptly confiscated. 260 years later, the American Library Association requests to remove library books by philosopher Yogi Berra. It's deja vu all over again. But it's not just literary freedom that is washing its back these days. An entire worldview is coming under assault. And ominously, attacks are coming from both ends of the political spectrum. Is a set of values that first came together between 1680 and 1790 in a period of European history known as the Enlightenment. Those values are so familiar today that it's hard to imagine how revolutionary they seemed when they were new. Literally revolutionary. They helped to inspire both the American and the French ones. The Enlightenment is often called the Age of Reason, but that shorthand sells it short. In its day, it covered much more than reason. Its thinkers wove an interconnected web of ideas that touched every aspect of human experience. The historian, Richie Robertson, describes it this way: to enlighten humanity is to clear away the false beliefs which have blinded people's own interests, to increase people's well-being and happiness, and to do so by close attention to empirical facts and the use of reason. Reason, in other words, was a means to an end. The ultimate end was the pursuit of happiness. Said the quintessential Enlightenment writer Voltaire, "I have chosen to be happy because it is good for my health." The web of ideas is vast. I won't pretend to cover them all. Instead, I would like to pull out a few central strands and describe how they connect to one another. I hope to show that they are as vital to the 21st century as they were to the 18th. Although, like any concepts that are 300 years old, they do need some updates. The four ideas I would like to address are these: objective truth, liberal democracy, freedom of speech, and separation of church and state. I'll start with objective truth, because in many ways it was the foundation for all the other Enlightenment values. It is also a subject of confusion, because when it comes to truth, Enlightenment was less about reason than about empiricism. The word empiricism is based on the Greek word for experience. In science, it meant ideas had to be verified by experience. It was a particular kind of experience, too, the scientific method. And it was a radical approach to truth. Throughout the Middle Ages, philosophers had sought truth through metaphysical logic. Thomas Aquinas actually did speculate on how many angels could fit on the head of a pin. The scientific method, instead, focused on ideas that could be proved or disproved here in the physical world. If multiple people could conduct the same experiment and get the same outcome, then for practical purposes, they had an objective truth. I should note that objective truth was not necessarily absolute truth. Later theories and experiments might modify old truths and prove new ones. Until then, however, objective truths such as Newton's laws of motion would do. Empiricism also had a second meaning for philosophers like John Locke and David Hume. It meant that everyday human knowledge is based on experience. We are born with minds that are blank slates. We gradually fill them up as our senses feed us raw data, and our thinking processes the data into ideas. Locke extended that philosophical idea into a political one. If we're born with essentially the same minds, then we are created equal, and we are created with equal rights. In a key passage, he wrote, "Men being by nature all free, equal, and independent, no one can be subjected to the political power of another without his own consent." Consent was a key word because government was based on consent. Citizens agreed to limit some of their natural rights so that government could protect others, particularly life, liberty, and property. When a government abused those rights, instead of protecting them, citizens had one more right: